What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own fantasy football huddle. Today we're continuing our coverage, going through the fantasy football marathon, helping you prepare for your fantasy football drafts. I'm your host, as always, Dallas Clark, also known as Indo is my Nindo, and today we're presented by DanklyfeBrand. Let's talk sports and shank it golf brand. As we're continuing through this fantasy football marathon, we're going to be talking today about players I think that are currently overpriced in the early rounds. I'm not saying that I'm avoiding these players. I'm not saying don't draft these players. I'm saying they're going a little bit too high for my taste. So we're going to get into that a little bit later. But before we do, I got to thank y'all so much for the outpouring of love that we've been getting here. We've been getting tons of likes, tons of action in the comments, lots of people sharing out my content, and I cannot thank y'all enough. If you like the content, smashing the like button helps me out way more than you understand. So please make sure you drop a thumbs up for your boy. And if you haven't yet, please drop a subscription down below. We're so close to 100 subscribers here on the new channel for the Huddle Chat Sports Network. And once we hit 100, we're not only giving away tons of customized Huddle Chat sports gear, as well as tons of customized sports apparel presented by our sponsor, DanklyfeBrand. We're also going to be giving one lucky subscriber between 1 and 100 a copy of Madden 24 on the platform of their choice. So make sure you subscribe, smash that subscriptions bar, and hit that notifications bell as well. Let's get the overpriced players portion of the draft strategies all out of the way. Let's get it started right now. But before we do, as always, now's the time to smoke them if you got them. Fill up your cup, roll something up, and let's get into the news. So I have to start this overpriced players off with a warning. Like I said before, I'm not telling you to avoid these players. I'm not telling you to not draft these players. I'm saying that I don't like their current ADP. If they slide a little bit lower than their ADP, I'd happily draft them. But I'm not liking them where they're currently being taken in the mock drafts that I'm seeing, from all the experts that I'm seeing. I'm just not liking the flavor that I'm getting from their current ADP. And you're going to be potentially pissed off at me at the end of this video. So let me just rip the Band-Aid off right now. The first player on this list is one of the most highly talked about players in all of fantasy football, I believe, going into fantasy research. It's going to be the number 2 running back on most people's list, Austin Eckler from the LA Chargers. He's 28 years old. Since 2017, in order to hit running back 3 or higher, to finish as running back 3 or higher, you've needed to score 327 total fantasy football points throughout the entire year. Since 2017, 0 running backs 28 years of age or older have scored more than 300, which would put him far away from that running back 3. So I'm just not digging Austin Eckler as the number 2 running back. Let's face the facts. Last season, he had a career high in targets, receptions, and touchdowns. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams finished 4 games in total together last season. There was extreme amount of problems with injuries as far as their wide receiver position went, and Austin Eckler was the beneficiary of being the healthiest player on the team. He had career highs in almost every category, and it's hard for him to duplicate that production. You also looked at the fact that he's been very vocal about not wanting to take the whole 3-down running back role. He wants to split carries. He's been very vocal about that this offseason. Now, the Chargers have yet to bring in another running back to make it seem like that's really going to come to fruition. But Austin Eckler really does not want to be a 3-down back. But you even look at the running back competition they currently have on the roster. Last season, there was full drives that Austin Ekeler was out of the game. If you were watching a Chargers game and watching it for Austin Ekeler production, you would be frustrated seeing full drives back to back where Austin Ekeler doesn't even put his helmet on and he's missing points while they're going down the field, racking up those garbage time points, whatever it is, he's missing out on that production. And that scares me from Austin Ekeler as far as drafting him as the number 2 running back. I would love him if he slid later in the draft. If I have the 8th pick or so and a lot of running backs have been taken, I would consider Austin Ekeler. But as the number 2 pick or the number 2 running back in the draft, absolutely not. The next player on this list is going to be another big name. Like I said, y'all are going to be mad at me at the end of this video, but that's okay because you just have to listen. It's going to make sense when it all gets broken down. Next player on this list is going to be wide receiver A.J. Brown from the Philadelphia Eagles. Everything went completely right for A.J. Brown in 2022. He had career highs in yards, targets, and he had the MVP runner-up at quarterback last season. He finished as wide receiver 6 last season, which is where he's being drafted at. If you're taking A.J. Brown at wide receiver 6 overall, you're taking him at his ceiling. You also look at other additions to the team that they've added on offense and wondering if that offense is going to be as good. You have Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator, now going to the Indianapolis Colts. So there are some questions that make you wonder if that Philadelphia Eagles offense is going to be as good as it was last year. But even if it was, everything would have to go completely right for A.J. Brown again this season for him to match that ADP of wide receiver 6, and I'm just not comfortable drafting him at his ceiling. The next player on this list is going to be one of the highest drafted players in the first round. I'm talking about Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, let me just remind y'all what I said at the beginning of the video. We're not talking about fading these players. We're not talking about not drafting these players. We're not talking about avoiding these players. I'm just saying taking Travis Kelce as the 6th overall pick ADP at 34 years old is highly questionable. And it's more than just his age. Last season, he set career highs in targets, yards, and receptions. And you're going to notice that theme. You may have already noticed it. A lot of the players on this list last year set career highs last year, and we're doubting that they duplicate that same production. Now, a lot of people doubted that about Travis Kelce last season, and the Kansas City Chiefs and Travis Kelce proved everybody wrong. However, he set career highs in targets, yards, and receptions. He had the 2nd most touchdowns that he's ever had in his career last year. With that being said, I just doubt that he's able to duplicate that production. You noticed last year they were missing Tyreek Hill, so they needed to lean on Travis Kelce more than ever. They haven't really blown our socks off with any new additions at the wide receiver room, but those young wide receivers are a year better. They know the offense. They're more comfortable with Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes spreads the ball to more targets than any quarterback in the NFL at the highest rate in the NFL. Travis Kelce is going to take a small step back from his career year that he had last season. Not a huge step back. I would be comfortable drafting him like the end of the first round, early second round, but mid first round is just a little too much for Travis Kelce for me. He's still my number 1 tight end, but I'm not going to be able to justify spending early first round value in the tight end room. The next player on this list is going to be New Orleans Saints wide receiver Chris Olave. Now look, Chris Olave had a good year last year. He's undoubtedly going to get better with Derek Carr than he was with Andy Dalton. However, that's baked into his ADP right now. Everybody's expecting that step up from the already good rookie year that he had last season, and it's baked into his price right now. I myself have made jokes about Michael Thomas on this podcast about his injury history, but everything about Michael Thomas says that he's healthy. There's going to be more competition for targets in this New Orleans Saints offense, whether Michael Thomas is there or not. However you look at it, the New Orleans Saints are going to spread the ball a little bit more this season. Chris Olave is going to have a really good year, but wide receiver 12 is just a little too high. His price is being overtaken right now by the fact that he's expected to get better with Derek Carr, when we still have quite a few questions about that New Orleans Saints offense and how it's going to function this season. The last player on this list is going to be T. Higgs from the Cincinnati Bengals, currently going as wide receiver 14. If you look at the last 3 years for T. Higgins, finishes wide receiver 28, wide receiver 24, and wide receiver 18. Touchdown progression is assumed. Everybody's expecting him to have a lot of touchdowns this season, and it's baked into his price. He's the running mate to Jamar Chase. He's the number 2 option to one of the best wide receivers in the league, and that helps his volume, that helps his production. However, T. Higgins is being taken early second round, mid second round, and that's just a little bit high for me. He's always going to be number 2 in Cincinnati. Jamar Chase is always going to be the one that garners all of the attention, and T. Higgins has yet to finish higher than wide receiver 18, and that was his best year last year, garnering 2 mid-20 finishes in his first 2 seasons. So T. Higgins being taken at wide receiver 14, it's just not for me. If he slides down, about 5 spots in his ADP, I'll take T. Higgins, but I'm not happy taking him as wide receiver 14. His price is a little too high for me. Now that's going to do it. Hopefully you didn't turn the video off when I dropped names like Austin Eckler and Travis Kelce. Hopefully you made it this far, and if you did, drop a like on the video. But if you hated it, drop a comment. Tell me why. Let's debate in the comments and tell me your opinion. Make sure you drop a subscription on the channel so we can hit that 100 subscribers here on the new channel. Thank you all so much for your time today. But as always, keep your chin up and your attitude down. I'll see y'all next time. I'm out of here, baby.
Bye.